Sports may be shut down, but Michael Jordan is as relevant as he's been in a long time. In addition to being omnipresent in the old YouTube clips we've all been watching, MJ will also take center stage in a 10-part ESPN documentary, The Last Dance. The film covers the 1997-98 season, Jordan's final year in Chicago, as well as Jordan's cultural significance and that of the Bulls dynasty as a whole. The documentary should serve as a refresher for those of us old enough to have watched Jordan at the time, and an introductory course for those who have never had the privilege. Of course, there's always been a lot of mythology built up around MJ over the past 3 decades, and The Last Dance is sure to add to it. Even the movie's director, Jason Hare, says he took steps to humanize Jordan. Under the weight of all that lore, it can be difficult to cut through what made Jordan truly great, independent of the image making. Welcome back to the Clutch Central channel. Lay back, grab your favorite snacks, and enjoy, because today we are going to tell you why MJ is the best player of all time. Was Jordan actually the greatest ever? It's something of a loaded question, the kind of which has launched a million Real GM forum debates. But MJ has the stats on his side. He remains the NBA's all-time career leader in win shares per 48 minutes and player efficiency rating, both of which can be computed going back to 1951 to 52. He owns the greatest single game performance according to BasketballReference.com's game scores. Sometimes when you analyze historical legends with modern metrics, the results can leave you disappointed. It's impossible to know what, say, Pete Maravich would have done in today's NBA, but his advanced stats are surprisingly mediocre when you look back at them. Yet Jordan's numbers have held up to challenges from LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and numerous others in the generations that followed in his footsteps. His reputation as the GOAT was not merely a media creation or the product of ring counting. It has withstood the test of both time and science. Why was Jordan so great though? How did a 6'6" shooting guard from North Carolina, who wasn't picked first or second in his draft class, come to dominate a league whose best players had disproportionately been big men over the 3 decades before he arrived? For one thing, Jordan mixed scoring volume and shooting efficiency just about better than any player in history. Over his career, he averaged 32.2 pace-adjusted points per 36 minutes, easily the most of any qualified player since 1977. But he has also had a career true shooting percentage of 56.9%, much higher than the league average of 53.5% over the years of his career. Jordan's placement is even more impressive when you consider that he didn't make much use of the three-point shot. MJ was a serviceable deep shooter for his day, particularly for the 3 seasons when the NBA shortened the three-point line during the 1990s, but he was no Steph Curry or James Harden. Only 7.2% of Jordan's career field goal attempts were threes, meaning that he was doing the vast majority of his work from inside the arc, whether slicing to the basket as a younger player later in his career or taking a ton of mid-range jumpers and fadeaways from the post. Despite the difficulty and inherent inefficiency of Jordan's shot selection, he still managed to make an impressive 51% of his career two-point attempts, notably higher than such similarly mid-range focused players as Bryant 48%, Carmelo Anthony 47%, Russell Westbrook 47%, and even Dirk Nowitzki 50%. And he still managed to get to the line once out of every 3 shots he took from the field, making 84% of his free throws. The mid-range and post games have fallen out of his favor in the modern NBA because they are not as efficient as a drive and kick, 3-crazed offense. Yet Jordan leaned heavily on those now shunned tactics to build his resume as the greatest player ever. Jordan's most underrated offensive strength of all might have been his ability to generate high-quality shots for himself and others without turning the ball over. Only 2 qualified players in NBA history had a career usage rate of at least 30% with a turnover percentage under 10%, Jordan and Dominique Wilkins, rival in a couple of iconic 1980s dunk contests. And with apologies to the human rights highlight film, on offensive for the Bulls than Wilkins was for the Hawks. MJ assisted on nearly 25% of the teammate baskets when he was on the court, on top of his scoring responsibilities. That made Jordan one of the better playmakers in the NBA, even as he simultaneously led the league in scoring 10 times during the 11 seasons he played between 1986 to 87 and 1997 to 98. All of this helps explain why Jordan's Bulls finished in the top 5 in offensive efficiency every season from 1989 to 90 to 1996 to 97, except for the 2 Jordan spent playing baseball. When your best player is taking on a historic share of the team possessions while also averaging nearly 1.2 points on each of those possessions, you're going to have a historic great offense. And indeed, Chicago had 3 seasons, 1992, 1996, and 1997, where its offense cleared the league average by 7 points per 100 possessions. Jordan was the engine that powered the offensive success of the Bulls dynasty, but that was only half of what made Jordan so great. He was also an elite perimeter defender. Before we continue talking about MJ, we would like to remind you to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on any of the upcoming videos. Share your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget that by subscribing, you are helping our channel grow, and that you are becoming a part of the always growing family. Jordan was also named to the NBA's All-Defensive Team 9 times, winning Defensive Player of the Year in 1988, with MJ joining forces with fellow shutdown defenders Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and Ron Harper during the second season of the Bulls' three-peat. Chicago led the NBA in defensive efficiency in 1996 and finished no worse than 4th in 1997 or 98, making that incarnation of the Bulls an even more complete team than the version that went back-to-back in 1991, 92, and 93. Jordan ranks 18th on the all-time leaderboard for steal percentage, a testament to the quickness of his famously huge hands, which probably played a key role in his low turnover percentage as well. But Jordan also had genius-level defensive instincts. Take, for example, the sequence that set up his iconic final shot as a Bull against the Utah Jazz in the 1998 NBA Finals. Everyone remembers the drive-up, pull-up, and arguable push-off as Jordan freed himself from Brian Russell and drained the championship-clinching jumper. But the reason he even had the chance was the previous play, in which he snuck behind Karl Malone and stripped the ball for a steal. It was a textbook example of how Jordan used mental lapses by other players, even Hall of Famers, to his advantage. The amazing thing is that Jordan wasn't supposed to excel in the areas that ended up being cornerstones of his legend. The weakest part of Michael's game on the offensive end was his shooting. Phil Jackson says in the spellbinding documentary, Michael Jordan to the max. So he obviously mastered something that everybody said he couldn't do when he came out of college, and he did it by shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting consistently. The other thing that people told him, that he wasn't really a good defensive player, Jackson said, and he found a way to not only become a great defensive player, but the best defensive player in the NBA. This guy said, "Those are my weaknesses, I'm gonna figure out how to make those my strengths." And he did. When critics argue against Jordan as the best player ever, they often point out that the Bulls dominated a diluted era during which the NBA added 6 teams in a 7-year span from 1988 to 1995, or that Jordan had a strong supporting cast with multiple Hall of Famers, including Jackson as coach, and hyper-efficient role players Steve Kerr, Horace Grant, etc. Or even that defenses were simpler then. But Jordan also excelled as a guard in an era when hand-checking them was legal, when teams like the Bad Boy Pistons could draw up physical defenses specifically designed to pummel the opponent's star. So the arguments can go in both directions, but the numbers tell us that Jordan was uniquely great, both in terms of what he did and how he did it. In some ways, as an efficient guard with unstoppable post-up skills, MJ served as a bridge between the NBA's bygone age of dominant big men and today's era of high-usage perimeter creators. And certainly, he deeply influenced every player who came after him. Now, through The Last Dance, we'll get to see Jordan from a different angle, and perhaps gain a new appreciation of his greatness even still. Before we wrap up this video, we want to thank you for watching and to invite you to subscribe to our channel. Make sure to turn on notifications so that you won't miss any of our videos, and leave your opinion in the comments section. Thank you for staying till the end, and we will see you in the next video. Bye!
Totally got rid of Andre with the...
What did we just see? How did he do that? He sees things